The Backrooms, a cultural phenomenon, you might say. As most great things on the internet, it originates from 4chan. That sentence was purely sarcasm, do not put me on a list. And it turns out that uploading an old photo from the early 2000s of an old furniture store in the middle of renovation and then randomly telling people that you can go there by no clipping in real life can snowball into something beyond our comprehension. And while I'm more of a pool rooms enthusiast myself, get a load of this guy, I've come to appreciate the OG concept. Now this movie is Kane Parsons' take on the Backrooms, aka Kane Pixels, who uploaded that extremely viral Backrooms vid 4 years ago. That thing is almost at 100 million views, absolutely insane. So we're not gonna get a nice cinematic look at level 658 of the Backrooms. God damn. No, this is your standard piss-colored ambient bulb light sounding infinite maze Backrooms. Sorry Roblox kids, this is for the adults. So let's take a look at the film and see how the Backrooms concept translates to the big screen, shall we? Let's get into it. We start off with a guy in a hazmat suit who got separated from the rest of his team. See, this guy belongs to an organization called Async. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. They've made it their task to investigate the Backrooms and map its layout. The guy is trying to get into contact with everyone else, but no one is answering him. Suddenly a bird comes flying into the room. At first we think it's dead, but it awakens and flies away. The guy goes into the direction of the bird and makes his way down a hallway. We see a part of a sign going into the ceiling and a bunch of other stuff attached to the wall. Also some feathers and leaves on the ground. Strange, but we are in the world of liminal space, so you can't rule anything out. We also see a strange stain on the ceiling. Kinda looks like water damage. A door opens behind him and something comes out, although we can't really see what it is because the guy starts running. Whatever it is starts chasing him. He tries his best to get through this yellow labyrinth and finds himself in a room covered in tropical wallpaper. Definitely a background you take pictures with at the mall. There's a door in here, but unfortunately for our unnamed yellow suit, it's locked. He goes to turn around, but whatever was chasing him is there and he's killed off screen. The only thing that can be heard are his screams and the footage cuts to blue. We then see an old CRT TV and it turns off. In the reflection, we see a group of people in lab coats staring blankly at the screen. Why do I feel like they left that guy behind on purpose? Title card. Concrete? Which looks like it hasn't dried yet as we see a little hand press into it. It's a little girl and what looks like to be her mother, as we see an excavator come above their heads and drop a whole bunch of rubble onto them, although when the camera cuts to a different angle, they're not there. Thanks for the mother-daughter murder fake out, much appreciated. We cut to a woman staring at the construction workers. This is Dr. Mary Klein. We see her stare at the handprints of that little girl and her mother, and no idea who they are or what this signifies, but she stares at it for a good minute, before we cut to another one of our main characters, Clark, pulling up to a furniture store that he owns. He's met with the words rip-off sprayed onto one of the windows. Some people just don't give a damn, unless it's true. How much are you charging for furniture, Clark? Or maybe it's not the price, maybe it's the quality. During these scenes, we get a voiceover from Dr. Klein, I believe, discussing how everyone has a loop, behaviors or habits that have us going in circles. One of these days you hope for a different outcome, but it never comes. And looks like business is not doing too well. Let me know down in the comments how many of you still shop at furniture stores. I play the game of ordering it online and hoping for the best. We cut to Dr. Klein, who just happens to be Clark's therapist. And this is a scene where I can confidently say that Clark is an asshole. He's like not a nice person, but according to him, that's just how he's wired. They do an acting exercise where they replay the night that his wife kicked him out of the house. He emphasizes the house is his and he's the one paying for it. Maybe we should focus on why she kicked you out and not who's paying for the house. He had came home late and ends up breaking a glass in the kitchen. His wife wakes up and goes to see what's going on, and this leads to an argument. She can tell he's obviously been drinking, and man, if I were his wife, I would have kicked his ass out too. The disrespectful shit he says to her during this argument is insane. See, Clark wanted to be an architect, but due to his own failures, he blames it on him not having enough support from his wife. Now he's stuck selling furniture because she won't get off her fat ass and help him. So not only did you call your wife a failure and lazy, you also body shamed her in the same breath. Yeah, I don't care who's paying for the house. Leave. Clark apologizes for getting all angry and snapping, but Dr. Clive says this is how most people react when doing this exercise. Recognize your anger and your feelings and forge a new path so you can learn how to react differently. And also not call your wife a fat ass. I cut to Clark shooting a commercial for the store, and I don't get why he needs to be hopping around on the crutch. Like, yeah, I get it, he's trying to have the whole peg leg thing going on, but you can be a pirate with 2 working legs. The pirate out front on the sign has 2 working legs, yet we got Mr. Hobble over here. And on top of that, he's visibly and audibly out of breath. He sits on one of the chairs you can buy from the store, I'm assuming, and it ends up breaking. He falls on the floor and gets pissed. He tells Bobby, the one behind the camera, to turn it off, and we also meet his other employee, Catherine. Cat for short. He tells her she can open the store, but according to her, the store has been open. Damn. Word around town must have spread that you guys suck. Mainly Clark.
This cheap particle board bull. Clear this stuff up, will you?
But Mr. Krabs, we cut to Clark in his office doing some calculations when the electric guy comes in and tells him everything looks fine. See, his bill has been super high and he's trying to figure out why. But according to this guy, that falls on him. Clark is still confused because he's taking all of the necessary precautions when it comes to power consumption. So they head downstairs to look at the breaker box. Holy liminal space. There are only a few times where I truly get a sense of nostalgia, and this is one of them. Some of the nicer basements I've been in have been carpeted. I feel uneasy yet comfortable at the same time. That is a weird feeling. Everything seems to be okay, but there are 3 mysterious switches that don't seem to be connected to anything, and they're off center. It genuinely looks like
some schmo just stuck it in there.
Yeah, exactly. He also says that power doesn't run through this part of the circuit, so what the hell is this even powering?
Order The Window Within and the companion 3-part audio program Guided Openings by Dr. Mary Klein.
Oh shit, I see you, Dr. Klein. Got your own little commercial and everything. On the flip side, she does not look satisfied with it. I like to mention I do love the aesthetic of this movie so far. It's the 90s, so you're gonna get that retro feel, but it's also a nice mix of not only liminal horror, but analog horror as well. I'll also point out that this is the second time we've gotten a scene where Mary is just staring off into space. And for some reason, that piece of concrete we saw before with the handprint is there. Did she take this? Why did she take this? And why is this relevant to her? Something tells me I'm gonna have to really be paying attention because I am historically known for being slow. Historically would indicate that it's in the past, but you're still very slow. Thanks, James. What would I do without you? Back with Clark, he's watching some old sci-fi show when the TV just cuts off. Mans is drinking liquor in bed. I'll never feel bad for eating Doritos while laying down again. He goes to look around to see what's going on with the TV when all the lights in the store turn on. They all start to flicker and then go off one by one. Alright, forgot to mention, he lives in the store, which I know he hates it here, but nothing's more clutch than getting kicked out of your own house and you just happen to own a furniture store. Don't know if I'd feel completely comfortable with so many entrances and exits, but it's better than the streets, that's for sure. He turns to look back at the photo of him and his wife. Remember what it was like to be happy, Clark? Now you don't have your home or your Lois Lane. I do really enjoy the voiceover monologues from Dr. Klein. She's dropping gems. During this, we see Clark pull up to his old house. You could tell he misses his wife. He knows he hurt her and he's taking the steps to make it right, although he's got a lot of work to do. Still hanging on to his architect dream, hoping one day that could be his day job and he could leave this dusty furniture store behind. During this, we also get scenes of Dr. Klein at some kind of party. I don't know if she's hosting or attending, but she doesn't really look too into it. She stares at a mother and daughter in the background, similar to how she was staring at that mother and daughter earlier in the beginning of the movie. And now I'm starting to get the feeling that she has some trauma with her mother. Maybe she's no longer alive, or maybe they grew apart, I'm not sure. She cuts off into another room and takes some sort of medication. Not sure what it's for, but it seems to calm her down. Back at the store, Clark is once again drinking in bed. Remember kids, under no circumstances, drink and drive. However, you might be able to get away with drinking and laying, or would it be drinking and lying? Huh. That's a double entendre. Seems like some other guy stole his whole flow, this time with a Western cowboy theme. You can hate all you want, Clark, but this commercial is 10 times better than whatever the hell we watched you do earlier. The screen then cuts to the back rooms and then turns completely off. Crazy how I forgot what this entire movie is based around. I got so caught up in the character stories. Backrooms, that's what we're here for. He notices the light illuminating from the basement and heads down there. He opens up the breaker box and fiddles with all the switches, but nothing happens. In fact, all of the lights in the store stay on. He flips the mysterious red switches and the lights turn off. Huh, that shouldn't be possible. As he's walking away, he notices a sliver of light in the wall, and he hears a buzz, that familiar buzz we all know. He goes to check it out, and as he leans in closer, he falls completely through the wall. Oh my god. It's the place from Fortnite. Don't worry, I will immediately be shooting myself after this video. James, you're owner of the channel now. Yay! As Clark looks around, you can see piles of various furniture pieces in the middle of the floor. He turns around and makes sure he's not going crazy, and he's able to go back to the other side. Oh wow, who knew interdimensional travel was so easy? So anybody else would see this and be like, yeah, I'm out. But you should know better now, silly. This is a horror movie. Of course he goes to investigate even more. Things look familiar yet off. These chairs that look stacked on top of each other, yet in reality they're stuck together. The infrastructure is jumbled. You got a stop sign at the end of a hallway. And dead birds. Dead birds? I'm assuming this is that same bird we saw earlier that flew into that room. Looks like the little guy didn't fare too well in here. There's another door that leads into more endless rooms. And then Clark hears someone talking in the distance. It seems like they're talking in multiple languages, at least that's what it sounds like to me. He walks towards it and it turns out to be a cardboard cutout of a caveman with a speaker attached to it. Why is this here? Is this some sort of distraction or bait? We know something dangerous is in here because of that guy from the beginning of the movie. The caveman has cables leading into the room beside it. However, the doors that the cables go into doesn't open. As he's walking away, he notices something peeking out through the space in the wall. It turns out to be a tiny entrance, and behind it is a duffel bag. Did this belong to our super dead yellow suit from earlier? There's a bunch of floppy disk and VHS tapes in here, and what looks like to be folders as well. Clark finds an ID, and is that Beck from Victorious? Shit must have really went left after he graduated from Hollywood Arts. Jokes aside, I was not expecting to see Avon Jogia on that ID card. But he works for Async, or should I say he did work for Async. This must be the same guy we saw earlier who was killed. Clark decides to crawl through the space and see where it leads to. On the other side, we don't see anything that should or even does make sense. A pair of shoes and a pair of sandals, no clipping into the floor. A fake parrot doing the exact same. And we see a chair, which more so reminds me of a throne. Looks like that same chair we saw Clark sit in earlier when he was doing his commercial, only purple instead of blue, and wider instead of narrow. But even weirder, smack dab in the middle of the floor is a hole with a bunch of chairs in it. There's no time to process any of this because Clark hears something in the room he just came from. Firstly, he should have grabbed this bag. There has to be some important information in here. Secondly, I love/hate when they don't show us the monster. I know we won't see it until the last act, but it's unnerving hearing something move around and you have no idea what it is. We hear the recording turn off and some more footsteps, then a loud bang out of nowhere and the cardboard cutout is ripped apart and then thrown into the room. Clark can't see who or what it is, but he can tell it ain't friendly. He goes to a little door that I forgot to mention earlier that has 3 doorknobs. The bottom 2 don't work, but the top one does. He's able to crawl through before whatever that is gets into this room, and he's able to find his way back to where he was. We get a real good sense of panic as he tries to find the exact part of the wall where he was able to walk through, but he does make it back to the other side. But not before going back to grab a stool and then actually leaving. No idea why he grabbed this? Evidence maybe? I mean, he owns a furniture store, so I'd assume a stool wouldn't be out of the ordinary. But maybe he's grabbing it for evidence for himself. He'll place the stool somewhere, and when he comes back down here and sees it's still there, he knows he's not going crazy. We hear that recording once more, the same one that the caveman was playing, and it seems to be running on a loop. We see another person with a lab coat watching the footage of when Clark walked into that room. He must work for Async. In fact, this must be Async headquarters. So Clark goes to his next session with Dr. Klein, and he's in a semi-crazed state, breathing heavy, won't sit down, and according to him, he hasn't had a drink in a few days, as that was one of Dr. Klein's first questions. He then asks her if she's ever 5150'd someone, which I'm all too familiar with. 5150 is legal code for a 72-hour involuntary psychiatric hold, for someone who's a danger to themselves or others, and also gravely disabled individuals. He may have access to avoid being committed. He does his best to explain the backrooms to her. At first glance, it's just a normal looking office building, but the more you explore it, the more you realize everything is off. Nothing makes sense here.
Imagine describing a dog to someone who's never seen one before and then asking them to draw it. They might get some things right, but there's no way they'd get everything right. The devil's in the details. So from a distance, you look at it, you think you're seeing a dog, but then you look closer. Why are you looking at me like that?
I mean, honestly, this sounds like how you would explain the backrooms to a person who's never heard of it in real life. Yeah, so this guy on 4chan posted a picture. What's 4chan? You don't want to know. No clipping. You ever play Gmod? What's Gmod? So this guy named Gary. Half-Life. You ever played Half-Life? Gordon Freeman. Ever used a crowbar? Now there's like a million different levels to the backrooms. This version is different from those versions, but it's the same concept. Mitochondria happens to be the powerhouse of the cell. Anyway, Clark has mapped out what he's covered so far, which I'm sure this doesn't even scratch the surface of how big this place is.
Clark,
No.
if this is true,
Yeah, I get it. Thank you. I'm gonna come back here with proof, and you're gonna owe me a serious fucking apology.
I mean, you couldn't have just showed her yourself? Also, why is it always people owing you something? Mary is appalled, but is it me or I can't get a good read on her? She's weirdly calm yet oddly expressive. Clark goes to get Bobby and Kat, who are a couple it seems. The plot thickens. Also, everything looking like a liminal space is a great attention to detail. This also could be Anvil from Cat in the Hat. Oh my god, was Cat in the Hat a liminal space horror? He tells them to come in tomorrow for research, as he says. He also offers to pay them overtime. He tells Bobby to get a hold of the camera that they use for the commercial. They head over to the store, and it seems Clark has started a collection. Stop signs, a bunch of stuff on the desk, rope. Rope? Clark, what the hell is going on? I don't even get paid minimum wage here. Anyway, Clark has told them nothing, which maybe he has PTSD for trying to explain it to Mary, but it would also make more sense to tell the people you're taking in there what's going on, rather than your therapist who you're merely getting evidence for. So Clark enters the wall, which he's taped an outline of the doorway on both sides so he knows where the entrance and exit is, which this seems to be the only entryway to this place he's found so far. Both Bobby and Kat freak the hell out. Bobby's the first to go after him, and Kat reluctantly goes as well. She's not a fan of any of this, to the point where she asks Bobby if he thinks Clark may have drugged them, which Bobby is already high, but I don't know. The worst I've done is ask my stepdad and my sister if they were real when I was high. Never found my way to the literal back rooms. Clark describes this place as if it was built by construction workers on acid. I've never heard anything more accurate.
There's even a pool.
Pool? Pool rooms confirmed? Okay, let me not get too excited. This is a backroom movies, Greaves. Focus. Didn't notice that stop sign was spelled backwards at first, but I like that. Clark is looking for a ramp that goes down into an area he hasn't explored yet. They find it, and to catch discomfort, Bobby is the one being tied to the bed and sent down there. I'm with Kat. I don't like any bit of this. Bobby gets down there and there's a bunch of clothes. Damp looking clothes on top of that. The mildew smell that must be overtaking this room. It seems to be like a den of sorts, which if something is down here and it's not friendly and this is its den, then that's not good news for Bobby here. He also finds his End Apartheid shirt down here, which, how? He was just wearing this the other day. He sees an opening in the ceiling and oh, that's trippy. My suspicions are confirmed when we see the torn up caveman cut out from earlier and what looks like to be blood. Bobby doesn't really comment on this, like he says, but that doesn't really exude, hey, I just saw blood down here and I think we're in danger, because that's what I would have thought when I saw blood. Yet he still moves forward to look at the rest of this room. Unfortunately, or should I say fortunately for him, the rope has no more give. There's a room in the corner engulfed in darkness with a strobe light. Something moves, gaining the attention from Bobby, who freaks out and runs back up. He makes it back to the others and he is shooketh. He tries to get this knot untied, but apparently Clark was being extra cautious and tied this thing like a bag coming out of a Chinese restaurant, and they can't get it undone. So Clark puts the camera down to help. Well, okay, cool. All we gotta do is get this knot untied and we're good. Oh, it's being tugged. Oh, they can't untie it. Oh, Bobby got pulled down. And oh, Bobby's dead. And oh, even better, when Bobby got pulled down, the bed that the rope was attached to was pulled down as well and knocked Clark and Kat down here. So now we're all doomed. Kat is in a panic and runs after Bobby and our mysterious murder friend. And poor Kat, she thinks she has a chance. Delusional, along with thinking Bobby is anywhere close to being alive. Whatever killed Bobby sounds like it's coming back, so Clark goes to one of the many crawl spaces in this place and he gets the hell out of Dodge. He finds himself in unfamiliar territory. More clothes and furniture, and is that a hazmat suit? I wonder how long that's been down here. I also wonder if it belonged to our mysterious mysterious Hollywood art student. Okay, Backrooms aside, I would low-key live in this. I don't know what it is, but I love a good carpeted floor. It's a bitch to maintain, but it's still comforting. Clark is still booking it, and he finds a room with a Christmas tree, and it looks to be statues of people clipping into the floor. Looks like the Pompeii of Christmas past. I don't think that's the right term, but whatever. Anyways, he's looking around. We see someone in a wheelchair moving. Clark says hello in a questioning tone, and when the light turns on, what the fuck is that? Okay, maybe I reacted too harshly. You shouldn't judge people off the way they look. What the fuck is that? So Clark ends up running through a dark Christmas wonderland. Is that tile? Did I just hear water?
Oh my God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm.
What's the
Everybody
procedure,
stay calm.
everyone? What's the procedure?
Stay calm.
Pool rooms Easter egg. I repeat, pool rooms Easter egg. I think I'm gonna faint. Sorry, can you tell I love the pool rooms? So Clark finds his way into some sort of pool room. Okay, but not the same as the last room. Anyway, on his side, we can hear Kat through the wall. Whatever room she's in, there's a window on her side and she can see him clearly. However, on Clark's side, it's just a wall and he can't see anything. As they're both trying to figure this out, something behind them picks up the camera. It's something tall. Kat tells him to look behind him as he slowly turns around and the camera cuts. Okay, so a lot to unpack. The thing that's been lurking around here has killed Bobby. Clark and Kat got split up. Now the thing is caught up to Clark and we don't know if any of them are still alive. Along with the multitude of rooms and corridors and pathways that Clark saw while running from this thing. And there's possibly other entities down here? Because what the hell were those things back in that Christmas tree room? We cut to what seems like a small apartment. Chairs are barricading the door, moldy food is sitting out, clothes are everywhere along with miscellaneous bottles of medication on the table, and we cut to a child. Who has this poor baby living in these conditions? You also see windows covered up by newspaper. The little girl goes to take a peek, her curiosity getting the best of her, as she hears a slight creak behind her. She goes to peel the paper back some more, but
Mary!
this is Dr. Klein when she was little. So apparently her mom had suffered from various mental illnesses that made her sheltered and paranoid. She doesn't leave the house and she doesn't let Mary leave either. Even more strange is that her mother's voice is oddly low.
Mary, what were you thinking? I never, ever said you could go outside. It's no good. They're all over the place.
Who exactly they are and why they're all over the place, we don't really get an answer. Mary doesn't say anything, she just comforts her mother as they both hear a knock at the door. Well, it seems more so that her mom hears it and it causes her to look in the same direction. Then all of a sudden something rams into the wall and it cuts. It looked to be another excavator. Mind you, I'm slow and didn't know what these things were called. I had to ask one of my friends who ended up telling me. Turns out this was all a dream as adult Mary awakens from her sleep. She's pretty much our main character now, so I'm gonna address her as Mary for the rest of the video instead of bouncing back and forth between that and calling her Dr. Klein. We see the piece of concrete again and I'm making the safe assumption that this is from her childhood. She seems to cherish it a lot. Her house phone begins to ring and she makes her way to it. In no rush, mind you, she's just walking casually to the phone. It goes to voicemail and it's Clark.
Mary. I opened the window. I won't be coming back.
Clark, don't piss me off. What does that mean? Okay, so he's still alive? Is Kat still alive as well? Every bone in my body is telling me no, but I'm willing to stay optimistic. Mary pulls up to the store because why would she not? We're only halfway through the movie. And we cut to someone else, which I was not expecting. We see a framed news article with async in the headline, which means this guy must be an async employee. Although according to the news article, they make MRI machines. So what the hell are they doing exploring the back rooms? Anyway, the guy sits down on the couch with his family and we get a commercial of Clark's store, which looks 10 times better than the one we saw earlier. Wait, that's the guy from earlier. The one in the lab coat that was watching that footage of Clark when he first discovered the back rooms. And he recognizes Clark. Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs, am I right, James? Oh, according to someone in the comments, we talk to each other too much and it ruins the flow of the video, so don't mind me basking in silence. You really have to stop harping on those hate comments. There's plenty of people that love you. Anyway, back with Mary, she peeks into the window of the store and notices a bunch of untouched mail. She tries the door and what do you know, it's unlocked. Not a soul to be found. The only noise is the stock elevator music and the buzzing fly in the background. She calls out for Clark, but she gets no answer. She makes her way through the store and notices a blinking light coming from the basement. In fact, all the lights in the basement are doing this. Everything was pretty much left the same. And suddenly she loses her blazer and her hair is down? When the fuck did that happen? She walks closer to the door. And that fly we saw earlier is buzzing around and then it just disappears into the wall. Obviously we know why, but Mary doesn't, so she's rightfully taken aback. She goes to reach out and sees her hand can completely pass through. After turning around and taking in the scenery, she eventually walks all the way through. The furniture that was in the middle of the floor is all gone. Now it's just emptiness in this room. As Mary makes her way around, occasionally calling out Clark's name, we cut into the room with the backwards spelling stop sign, like the same shot we saw earlier when Clark first discovered this place. Although I don't think that severed hand was there before, Mary continues to move forward to that room with the camera, now filled with random pieces of furniture. And speaking of which, that camera is completely pulled out of the wall and most likely broken. She walks through a door and we can hear voices coming from around the corner where these chairs are. We see a sort of mural on the wall of various things that don't seem related, but in reality they are. Who drew this? Was it Clark? I wonder. In the middle of this mural, we see a dark, malevolent looking figure with what looks like to be a pirate hat on its head as it's tearing someone apart with its bare hands. Above all of this, we see an open window. Does this symbolize the window that Clark was talking about on the phone? Oh wait, the window is open! Mary's book is called The Window Within. Not a literal window, but a mental one. Got it. We hear something behind her as an arm can be seen retreating behind the corner. At first I thought it was the entity, but no, it's Clark. He's being weirdly mysterious.
Clark.
You found it.
Also, where did he get these clothes from? I know he's not wearing those stank mildew clothes we saw from before. She asks him what this place is and how long he's been here. The former being answered with,
Every place that ever was.
and before he can answer the latter, we hear a noise come from the direction that Mary just came from, which can't be good. It sounds like whatever it is coming closer. The light in that room goes out, and straight out of left field, Clark puts Mary into a chokehold until she's unconscious. He tells her he's sorry and that this is for her own good. Her vision becomes shaky as the camera zooms into one of the ceiling lights and we fade to some sort of building. We see young Mary staring off into the distance until we realize she's looking at her mother, who I assume is being admitted into a psychiatric hospital. You can see a tear falling from her mother's eye as she's wheeled away. We then cut to Mary alone in her house, which is actually insane. No one came to get her and take care of her, or was she not put up for adoption? We see the camera sink lower as the room becomes more and more distorted. It sinks further and further
until the room doesn't functionally make sense anymore.
Most of the furniture is clipping into the floor and the walls. The outside light is gone
because the windows have been replaced with
solid wall.
The furniture becomes tiny or
thin.
Then we get nothing. A carpeted blank floor with a single light. No way to get in
or out.
Next, we see an outline on the floor, which disappears, and now one of the walls has a crack in it. The crack is replaced with a tiny doorway, which turns into a much bigger doorway, as we can hear Clark quoting the same monologue we heard in the beginning of the movie, the same words that Mary spoke. Now, there are a lot of things wrong with the scenery, but let's unpack it one by one. First off, we have some very disfigured individuals in here. Like I said, I don't mean to judge, but what in the literal fuck am I staring at? Two of these individuals we've seen before, the woman in the dress and the man in the wheelchair. Big man here is new. Secondly, why is there a knife next to you, Clark? What's with the knife, Clark? Do you plan on hurting me or yourself? I'm very confused. Thirdly, what's in these cups? What are we about to eat? You somehow found food in here? Edible food? I have so many more questions, but let's get to the main one. Is Clark the villain of this movie? He's giving me very villainy vibes, which I'm not against. I said off rip he's not really a nice person, yet somehow I was still slightly surprised at how this turned out. More importantly, we start to learn how this place works. Mary asks Clark who these people are, and he explains that it's less so the Backrooms creating them, but more so remembering them. The more times it remembers them, the less it gets right. There may be a man out there with a striped shirt, or a man in a wheelchair with a lamp attached to it, but he falls silent when looking at this woman. Why? Remember that picture of Clark and his wife at the beginning of the movie? Now look at this woman. Something tells me this is the remembered version of his wife Barbara. She's the only one he doesn't address directly when going down the list of these people that are in the room. Clark somehow sees beauty in this place, even saying that things in this place are improvements on things in our world. Like these entities don't feel pain or pretty much anything. Clark demonstrates that by sticking a knife in this guy's neck.
Can you imagine how good that must feel? There's no thoughts, no pain, no ego, no fear. They simply exist like furniture.
Yeah, so Clark has obviously lost his damn mind, and we get further confirmation of that when he tells her that you can even eat these people, like consume them. I don't even want to know how he made that discovery. He begins to take big chunks out of this man's belly and plates them. Kinda looks like cake. Weird, foamy, slimy looking cake. Clark goes to open the fridge, and if the situation couldn't get any worse, Kat's severed head is in there. Poor Kat, oh my god. Mary offers to help him if he unties her, but Clark isn't so convinced that's the truth. She would just run around here looking for an exit she won't be able to find. She insists that whatever he needs her to do, she'll do it. And then he says this.
Well, I want you to tell me that I didn't do anything wrong, you know, that you were wrong about me.
Mary eagerly says that she was wrong about him, but he wants to set the scene a little more. They do their acting exercise again, Clark even going as far as ripping the hair off fake Deborah's head and putting the slimy thing on Mary's. Ew. They go through the same dialogue as before, but this time Clark is more cynical with his answers. And Mary is done. She no longer goes along with this, as she says she's not his wife and she hasn't even met the woman. Clark yells at her to stay in character over and over again, but she claps back at him.
Fuck you!
What did you say?
You want to know the real reason your wife left you? It wasn't the drinking, or the stumbling home at all hours, or the rage. It was the whining. Nothing's ever your fault, is it? You drink too much? Blame your job. You hate your job? Blame the world. You get kicked out of the house? Blame your wife. You attack me and tie me up? Blame your brain. You are your fucking brain, you dipshit.
You say it is my fault.
Yes, but it's just the way you're wired, isn't it? Isn't it?
And that's when she makes the realization that she can't help him. In reality, she doesn't know if she can help or, in her words, save anyone. Clark admits that he doesn't want to change, so Mary tells him he doesn't have to. Clark says he doesn't want to leave. For the first time in many years, he feels like he's right where he's supposed to be, so Mary tells him to stay, right where he is. But he needs to let her go, which I think is a parallel of him accepting that he needs to let his wife go, at least in my head. So Clark goes to set her free, but suddenly fake Barbara runs away like she's afraid, which is strange because earlier I thought Clark said it didn't feel anything. No time because someone's here. Something.
And without getting a drop of pain on anything but the flap and flotsam, what's that?
So this is Pirate Clark, or Captain Clark as I'll be calling him in this video. And this is a manifestation of real Clark's psyche, anger, and narcissism. It seems Clark has formed a bond with this thing because they both share the same ideals. Real Clark tells Captain Clark that Mary told him that they don't need to change. See, real Clark is using words like our therapist and we don't need to change. As Captain Clark picks him up, I thought he was maybe going for a hug, but no, don't be stupid. He brutally murders him. Clark's screams are gut-wrenching. Oh my god. As he's thrown around the room and his blood is splattered onto Mary's face, she's able to get loose and escapes the room. Or should I say, house. It's like a replica of a neighborhood. She sees a door down the fake road and makes a beeline for it as Captain Clark comes out of the house dragging a now dead real Clark's body. The door is locked, so Mary runs into one of the nearby houses. She finds more corridors that lead to more stairs and hallways and rooms until she makes it to a room full of sofas. She tries her best to make it over them, but she injures her leg in the process. Of course. She makes her way down a narrow hallway leading to another door, but it's locked, forcing her to crawl through the little doggy door. Which, how the hell is Captain Clark so fast? Mans is on a peg leg outrunning a woman in her 30s with 2 good working legs. Well, I guess now 1.5. So she makes her way through the doggy door and it leads to this wide chasm surrounded by various rooms and pathways. She slides her way across the wall and goes up some stairs as Captain Clark is bashing through that door she just came out of. She makes her way up the stairs, but not before the tiny door falls off into the bottomless pit. And from the looks of it, she's found her way back to the store. Oh, come on, don't be foolish. This isn't the store. No tape on the wall outlining the door to the back rooms. All the lights are on and not flickering. The table with all the documents on it is gone. All the things Clark collected from the back rooms are gone. In fact, it looks like when we first saw it earlier in the movie. But Mary isn't paying attention. She runs up the stairs thinking she found a way out. But as we've established, this isn't real Clark's store. This is Captain Clark's store. We can see by the caveman in the middle of the floor playing that audio we've heard before. And of course the doors going outside leading straight into a wall. And Captain Clark is here. Great. This entire scene is unsettling. He menacingly makes his way over to her as she backs away, trying not to fall, bumping into various things, even grabbing whatever she can use as a weapon. I'd also like to mention that this is the first time we get a clear look at Captain Clark. And in this moment I realized something. The other entities that we saw, while disturbing, weren't inherently dangerous. In fact, they aren't seen attacking anyone. I mean, yeah, that scene where Clark was in the Christmas tree room, but she was more so staggering after him. Besides that, they just seem to exist, as Clark said earlier. But Clark's backroom version is very violent, angry, rageful, murdering anything it comes across, even its real-life counterpart. The entire reason it exists to begin with. So my question is, how much rage do you have to have? How much of a narcissist do you have to be? How much accountability do you have to not take for you to become this? I dread to think. So as it gets closer to Mary, she breaks his peg leg and it falls onto the ground. She goes to run, but she falls into the caveman, setting off some sort of alarm. All of a sudden, all the gas tanks in the room that I forgot to mention are activated as well. What is this? Is this tear gas? Whatever it is starts affecting Mary as she fights to get to this sliver of an exit. As she's about to give up, Captain Clark is right on top of her, and she tries her best to push him back as he attempts to take a bite. She then reaches for the concrete in her pocket and bashes it into his head, to the point where it breaks and she's able to escape. She stares at him for a good minute as he reaches after her, not being able to get through. Her face looks a little more softer, maybe even sympathetic? I'd go as far to say that she pities the creature. She continues to move forward into a room where we see men in hazmat suits, async I'm assuming. Mary is dragged out of the back rooms to a group of lab coats and more hazmats. These might be some of the same people we saw earlier when Beck was killed. We then cut to scans of someone's skeleton and brain, which I think is Mary's. We see her walking down a bunch of corridors as she passes a room where they're also doing studies on Captain Clark's body, who I assume is now dead. His brain is exposed and everything. Mary is taken to a room, more specifically an interrogation room. We see that guy from earlier, the one we've been seeing throughout the movie. And this is Phil. He's hoping to ask Mary some questions, like how she got in here to begin with. She tells him about the wall in the basement of the store, and he holds up a picture to confirm it's the same store. He asks if she was shopping, but she said she was looking for someone. Phil then holds up a picture of Clark to confirm if that's the same person she speaks of, which seems to be a picture of real Clark, RIP, and Captain Clark, although he's blocked out. But instead of directly answering that question, she asks him where she is, which he's not trying to answer at first, but she asks him again, this time a little nicer. He tells her about their company and that they make MRI machines, or rather they did make MRI machines, which was before they found the back rooms, and Phil has been there a multitude of times. Okay, so Mary asks if that's what he wants, for her to describe the back rooms to him, so he can take notes and they let her go, right? Right? Nope. See, during this entire conversation between her and Phil, he's using a tactic we've seen before, trying to get her to think they're both on the same side, that he's not her enemy, he's not out to get her. But this is a therapist we're talking to. She knows he's bullshitting her, and that's confirmed when she asks him what's going to happen to her, and he says,
"That decision's not up to me."
After he says this, Mary sort of grins / smiles a little bit. To me, I feel like this was her kind of accepting her fate. She knows more than likely they're going to kill her. None of the public can know about the backrooms or Async's research. Either that or they keep her here forever and use her as a guinea pig. Either way, she's not leaving this place. place. Phil reveals that doors like the one they found in the store are opening everywhere. They don't know how or why or even how to stop them, which tells us this won't be the last instance of this happening. Phil's talking is muffled as we cut to Mary's destroyed home, and the bigger handprint that matches her little handprint is seen. This was most likely her mother's. The little girl and mother duo we saw in the beginning was Mary and her mother. The construction workers she was watching were demolishing her childhood home. I guess she was able to get her handprint from one of the workers, or she just grabbed it from the rubble. It's not clear. Turns out this destroyed home is in the back rooms, and we get various scenes of things being copied into the back rooms. Mary's home, her office, her bedroom, her book. We also sadly get missing posters of Kat and Bobby, and where they lived as well. And then we see Mary, but not Mary. It's how the place remembers Mary, as their backrooms copy is seen sitting in the chair of the remembered interrogation room, and the movie cuts to black. Okay, so we got a lot to unpack. Let's start with Mary. Her journey throughout the movie revolves around her childhood and dealing with her mentally unwell mother, not being able to see the outside world because of her mother's fears, her paranoia of what the outside world contains. This trauma follows her to her adulthood as we see her still struggling with it. Her using that piece of concrete to bash Captain Clark's head in was her finally letting go. I mean, you could also say she made that realization back in the fake house with Clark, after telling him she couldn't help him. But this moment really solidifies that Mary was finally going to let go of her past and move on. Now we'll get back to Mary, but let's jump over to Clark. Clark's struggles were never about his wife kicking him out, or his failed architect career, or him selling shitty furniture. While those are factors to his stress, the biggest culprit of his problems were him. He could never admit he was wrong in anything. He was never the problem. He did nothing wrong. Everyone else's opinion about him is flawed. They don't know what they're talking about. Yet in reality, the biggest obstacle in the way for him was himself. He is the exact reason why he is where he is in life. So why did Captain Clark kill him? If he accepted that he didn't need to change, then what was the shift? Well, you see, it's not that simple. Captain Clark spared Clark's life this entire time because they ultimately thought the same. We're both victims. The world is out to get us. It's not our fault. We've hurt people, yes, but that's just how we're wired. But Mary getting Clark to accept his faults and who he is, therefore made him an enemy to Captain Clark's ideologies. They no longer share an ego, meaning that he can't spare him anymore. Clark's acceptance of not wanting to change somehow led to change, which unfortunately led to his death. Bobby and Kat were just collateral damage. In reality, if Clark had never approached them about coming in there with him, they would have lived. And that leaves Mary. Let's talk about that ending. What does it mean? I was confused when I first watched it, so let's try to unpack it. Mary was finally able to let go of her past. But as the monologue from earlier suggests, sometimes you take a path that keeps leading you in circles. Being confined by her childhood home until eventually her mother is taken away, who I assume is still there in that hospital, or maybe she's passed away already, she now gets taken into a new form of this in her adulthood. She won't be able to leave Async. She'll be confined to this place as she was confined to her childhood home. Her being copied kind of gives us the answers to if she was able to leave that facility or not. And sadly, I think we all know the answer is no. Unfortunately, there will always be a piece of her in her past. No matter how hard she tries to move forward, she'll just keep going in circles. The concept of the backrooms, the way it's explained in this movie, is so genius as well. Your memories, no matter how vivid you may think they are, will never be the exact way you remember them. As you get older, you keep remembering them with slight differences, until that memory becomes an echo of what it really is. Explaining the backrooms itself, you can chalk it up to that dog analogy. Or how about this one? Remember the game Telephone? You have a long line of people. The first person in the line whispers a secret message into the ear of the next person. As the message is passed along person to person, it makes its way to the last person in the line, and the last person in the line has to say the exact message the first person said in the line out loud. And it's extremely different than what the first person said. Yeah, you may have some similarities, but it won't be the exact same message. And one last thing, this was really good. I enjoyed it a lot. But the biggest offense in this film for me was that they didn't say Backrooms one time in the entire movie. All in all, I really enjoyed Backrooms. I think Kane Parsons did a fantastic job bringing his version of it to the big screen. It's unsettling, it's interesting, it's engaging. The scares were great. The kills, at least the ones we saw, were nice. I had a really good time watching this for the first time. Have you seen Backrooms? Let me know what you thought of it down in the comments below. If not, hell yes, check this out. Especially if you're a fan of the Backrooms concept, specifically Kane Pixel's version. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to like and subscribe. Become a member if you want my videos a day early, custom badges and emojis, member shoutouts, and for your movie recommendation to be guaranteed a video. Not required, but it does help out the channel. I will be shouting out members, but let me do my outro first because we have a lot today. And thank you to all my members, I appreciate you for real. Also, sorry if I butcher anyone's name. My name is Greaves, and as always, I will see you guys in the next one. Peace. Shout out to GP2014, Logan8963, Chaos Life, Ringo the Hanging Man, It's Anime Boy 8031, Salosary or Salosary2, CDB Crazy, Via or Via _Moon 19, Zane Hall 4753, Reginald Hearn 3057, Nebula Redeye 9583, Justin King II 1070, Peanut Borg Fling 6235, Titan Fenrir, Screen TV Magic, Panda Sandwich 43, Mr. Genu or Genui 020, Samkiss, Vorpals, Crota 5606, Fairy Harp, Isabella Gonzalez 76, and Mini TV _3. Alright, now peace for real.